You, mate.
That's extremely dangerous.
I think we're officially live, kids.
All right.
Yay.
Not yet.
Yes, we are. Hello, people. We're officially live. I'm
Good.
just putting it out
Officially. This is officially happening, guys.
Yep.
Oh, yep, there we are. Woo! Hello, people and friends who are watching us or listening while they do the dishes. And welcome to our live stream on Facebook. This is the eve of our new song coming out. First song in 7 years. How are you feeling, guys?
Pretty excited. Defo. Yeah, it's a unique feeling because you always get excited when you're releasing new material, but when you haven't done it for 7 years and you're not quite sure what to expect, the excitement has a touch of nerves as well, which is good. I love feeling nervous. I don't get to feel nervous very often these days.
I'm always nervous.
It's great. It's like the you look like Beaker from the Muppets there. The night before Christmas, but we know what the present is. But that's all right.
All right. Well, look, we're here to have a chat with all of you.
Not just ourselves.
So we're just going to get up into some questions. We have some questions here from Becky Eves. Thank you for getting in touch, Becky. This is great. She's very excited for the new song. She's only human. My questions are, if you could go back to a certain decade in music history, which one would you choose?
The one with the Beatles in it. And to answer your next question, someone from the Beatles.
Yeah, I reckon the 60s would be hard to go past. What do you think, Joel?
Late 60s, early 70s, surely.
I think we're all in agreement there.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah, 60s got to be. And also for the amazing motor vehicles that were produced in the 60s, particularly in Europe. If you could choose a musician from the past, who would be a good fit for a band member for Eskimo Joe now?
One of the Beatles, definitely.
That's what I thought too. I was reading this article Jeff Emmerich wrote about, he was one of the engineers who recorded a lot of the Beatles records and went on to do some amazing records afterwards. And everyone keeps asking him how he got his drum sounds, because there's some pretty iconic drum sounds on those Beatles recordings. Anyway, his number one thing was that everyone would always ask him, can you get that drum sound just like, in Led Zeppelin, like the John Bonham drum sound? And his joke was always like, no worries, I'll just give John Bonham a call. Because, that whole idea of like being able to record drums to make them sound like the Beatles, Ringo Starr got so much shit over the years for being, a crappy drummer.
So
he's amazing. Such a cool drummer. And he plays like Ringo. No one could play like Ringo. So maybe Ringo would be a great member of the band.
I reckon. Yeah, considering Joel's not really keen on drums these days.
Still a pretty good drummer though.
Yeah. But see, the thing is, you're going to be careful what you wish for. It's like in all those time travel movies, you go back and you just, you change one little thing on your desk and then you come back 20 years later and all of a sudden Trump's president or something.
Yeah, that would be weird.
So the smallest little thing can have consequences. So if we put Ringo Starr in drums, it wouldn't be Eskimo Joe anymore. Just putting it out there.
It'd be pretty cool though.
It'd be pretty cool.
What's the next question?
Craig Pratt. Thank you, Craig. Is there an album coming?
Well,
that is a good question. It
is a good question. As you can see, myself and Stu are in Fremantle and Joel is trapped in Melbourne. So he looks like he's pretty happy about that. He's got his glass of wine, looks pretty comfy. But, we would love to write and record some more music, but I guess we've just got to be in the same state as each other. So we're taking it one song at a time. We're putting this song out. I guess if it goes really well, that'll be a great motivation for us to go and make some more music. So if you get all your friends to download it and it goes ballistic, then highly likely we'll make a record.
What do you say to that, Chelsea?
Yeah, I agree with Cav. It's like, I feel like we're back in the 50s, in the time of Elvis, where you put out a single and then you put out another single and a single and you're about as good as your last single. So I think if we keep that, coming, we're setting a bar for ourselves, and that's not such a bad thing. And that might just by osmosis turn into an album. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But, yeah. We'll just keep
I think that album's
releasing
called
bangers until then.
Thriller 2. If it's just singles, that
Yeah,
album, Thriller. Yeah.
That's it.
All right, Cooper Gillett.
Cooper the dude.
Yeah, Cooper the dude.
Yeah.
Where did the saying "Yazza" come from, and what does it mean? So we did get another comment below this, a reply that Paul Keenan is very keen to hear the answer to this one. Paul is our previous drummer.
He played in Eskies through all of the Black Fingernails and Song of the City period.
Yep, he's an absolute champion. So he'd be delighted to know that he was the creator.
He came up with Yazza, and funny story, just to, and correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, if you're listening. He, just to basically ensure that he was the first person to come up with Yazza, he wrote Yazza on a letter and then posted it to himself.
No, I think he was like, Paul Keenan, am the sole creator of the word
Yazza. And he posted it to himself, and he hasn't opened that letter unless he's lost the letter. Paul, do you still have that letter? That's what I'd like to know.
That's what we'd like
to know. And to answer your question, Yazza means yes.
Yes. There's also extensions of Yazza. There's Yazza Indeza, which means yes, indeed.
Yeah, or you could just say Indeza, which means
that's awesome.
Alteza, which is an alternative Yazza.
Yazza.
What does that even mean? Alternative Yazza.
Look, when you're on the road and you're in close quarters with anyone, even if you're just in an office, I'm sure anyone who spends a lot of time, extended periods of time in a small room with the same people over and over, you develop your in jokes. And that's just one of those.
Sarah Hamilton has said Paul is very smart.
Yazza.
And Nikki White has said Indeza.
Yazardo. Yazardo.
Yes, that's a new one. Yeah. That's just come up in recent times.
That's Spanish for Yazza.
All right, so Nikki White again. She said, "Thank you, Nikki, for joining us. Any chance of coming to Melbourne to play with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra? The Wasso album is amazing. We'd love to see them."
That is such a good question. We hit those guys up a few times, and so far they're the only orchestra in Australia who hasn't come back and said, "Yes, we'd love to have Eskimo Joe." That could be because they don't like us, or just because there's stuff going on.
Let's just qualify that statement for a little bit. The thing with Melbourne Symphony Orchestra, to my best understanding, they would love to have us play, but they generally tend to program their season well in advance, and we just missed the window on the last opportunity, and I'm not sure if those talks have begun again since.
Anyway,
good politicking.
Yeah.
Alicia Down, what have you guys been up to since the last album?
That was 7 years ago, so quite a lot to fit into that in a sentence.
Yeah. Living the dream, really.
Well, I'll answer that a little bit. So Stu was the managing director of RTRFM, which is our community radio station here, and now does Fairbridge, which is a really cool folk festival. Joel has been producing a whole lot of really amazing bands. Meg Mac, G Flip, to name a few.
And co-writing.
And co-writing and doing all kinds of cool stuff. And I put out a solo record, and also spend a lot of my time with my wife working on a podcast about songwriting called Hat Jam.
And in that 7 years, we've also all been growing little families as well, which
just
are now
tiny little ones, kind of like a bonsai.
Like those little,
trim them, keep them tiny. Yeah.
You bend them with little bits of wire and keep them in small containers.
Yeah, that's right.
Why now for a new song, says Kayla Burke. Why not?
Joel, you can answer this one.
Well, it was probably because, as a band, we'd come to a point where what we did was play live shows, and we'd been doing that for the last 7 or so years. So there was this sabbatical, but we would still get together every now and again and play a show when it felt good. And that kind of all came to a screeching halt with COVID. So, what do you do as a band? You put out music. That became our only outlet. So here we are. And we've got this song, and it comes out tomorrow.
Yazza.
Catherine Burns, what's been each of your favorite things about COVID/ISO? Look, so much good stuff to say about COVID.
I think she's talking about as a day-to-day life.
Okay, that's your interpretation.
What's some of the good things that's happened to you?
Some of the good things. I have been able to look. Life hasn't actually changed a lot for me. I'm a bit of a hermit. I don't go out that much, so I get to hang out with the family a little bit more, which is great. But I also getting my hands dirty because I can't work in my house because my office has been closed up due to COVID. So I can't really work in my house very effectively on the dining room table because my house is a man house. So I'm building a studio / office out the back.
I knew he was going to talk about
nice.
at some point in time. In that,
that's what.
Every time I talk to Stu, I'm like, "What have you been up to?" It's like, "Well, we demolished this thing, but I'm building this thing over here now." I'm like, "You've got a sickness; it just never ends."
I do have a lot of projects.
Joel, what's been some of the best things for you about the COVID period?
I think it was the first part after the initial shock of, okay, what do we do now? And we're pretty much under house arrest, particularly in Melbourne as it was then, was just spending time with the family. And, we have a 1-year-old daughter. And so that, I was going to the studio a lot and working, but that forced, not forced family time, but, just part of the circumstance meant that we spent this amazing time together. And, I really think that was a great thing for our family and for our daughter. So that's probably the best thing. And now with the, I write songs every day with different artists. So connecting with artists, you can write a song with someone on the other side of the world now. It's no problem. That technology's kind of been rushed forward because out of necessity. So although it's clunky sort of with the delay thing that happens and all that, it's you work around that, and it's opened up a bunch of opportunities that might not have been there otherwise or considered. So that's been a good part too.
I think in general, one of the best things about, this pandemic on a global level is it's brought everyone, I guess, closer together and just brought everything down to
brought bad terminology if you're talking about a pandemic.
No, but it's
closer together.
But it's brought the communities back to a smaller. I guess what's the best way to describe this? Instead of being such a a global commerce, we're going to our local stores now. It's a lot more about local music because you can't really see international acts.
It's also the first time.
Sorry, I've just got to stop you for a minute there. I've got a really important question. Any chance of a Creed cover in the new album?
With arms wide open.
That's from Monroe.
Look, Stuart, I'd never say never. That's what I always say. That's about all we're going to give that time. All right, Hannah Butter. If you do an album, will you follow the political theme like this new song is going?
It's highly likely. I mean, we are at a point in our lives. I should probably say, every song we've written up to this point in time has been about love, and that's okay because that's that subject never gets old. But I think now that we have families and we are happy in our world, we're starting to think about the world that our children are going to go into. So I think it's highly likely that we probably would follow that theme of social awareness and all of that jazz.
Roxanne Hall, hi from England. Obviously not right now with the current situation, but do you have any plans to play over here again?
Oh man, we'd love to go to the UK and play a show. But yes, clearly no one can even leave their state at the moment. But the fact that you're tuning in from the UK, warms our heart. We did a lot of touring in the UK around 2009, 10, and had a great time and would love to get back there again. So yes, start a petition, make it happen. We'll be there.
Okay. Elizabeth Ulrich says, can your American fans get the Wasso album? The answer is yes. You can order it from our website, and you can get it on Spotify too. Talia Jeffrey, Dockers fan. Any chance of some pub gigs now WA is opening back up? Missing the live music.
I'm gonna do some solo pub shows in the next little while because that's about as much as we can do with Joel being away. So I'm sure I will see you there because sometimes I'll do a secret show and you're the only person who is there, which I love about you. So keep doing that. But as far as Eskimo Joe goes, we probably won't get to do any proper shows until early next year. But those shows are probably we had plans to play in really big venues, and chances are, because of the way things are, we might play a lot more shows in much smaller venues. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll definitely, but I don't think it's going to happen this year, unfortunately.
Michelle Dillon, how did you come up with the song title?
Generally, we have a working title, and it's generally the word that happens the most in the song.
Which, funnily enough, it was going to be silence, and then
it started as silence.
And then Joel wrote like a second part of the chorus, which is the say something bit, and because we said say something 400 times, that became the new title.
Yeah. Often, so when you're working on Pro Tools, which is our computer program we use to record, generally you have to save the track as something. And I think it started as silence, but then, like Stu said, after we started going say something.
We sent the song to NASA, and they came back with that data. And there it was. It was say something.
And that's the creative process.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Stu, are you still? Oh, sorry, Stacey Taylor. Welcome to the Zoomcast, Stacey. Stu, are you still on the radio? Apologies, I'm in regional New South Wales. No, I'm not. I was on the radio, then I was behind the scenes as the general manager for a radio station, and now I'm not. But I do love the radio still. That's about it. Keep listening to your community radio stations, by the way, because they are the best way to stay in touch with your local music scene.
I'm sure you get a beer.
2 beers. Westwood Jasmine. I'm not sure if that's Jasmine Westwood, and they've just got it backwards. What do you do or enjoy outside of music that influences your songwriting? Hobbies, interests, sports, etc. I'll throw that one to you, Josie.
I don't know if watching football influences my songwriting. But actually, we did have a crack at writing a footy theme song once.
Yes.
Oh, here's the tie-in.
Sorry,
I got randomly asked that question 12 times today.
You're gonna love it. Go on, sorry.
Oh no, I'm done. So that probably is the one time that watching footy has influenced our songwriting because we were actually writing a song for the Dockers, and we were kind of looking into it, and we were listening to the Richmond theme song because we thought that one was the biggest banger. And so that's kind of what we used as a template. But so we wrote this song, presented it to the Dockers. We thought it was rad, and then it didn't win the competition, and now it's
contentious.
Yeah.
I was on Eddie's, Eddie Maguire's breakfast show the other day doing interviews.
Oh yeah.
And Eddie Maguire was like, "You guys wrote a song for the Dockers a couple of years ago, and I just think it was the most amazing song. They need to use that as their song. In fact, we're going to play it right now."
Awesome.
And then they played it.
Awesome.
And I was like, if you're going to have anyone in the football world that you want to champion your song, I mean,
Dennis Cometti.
or Eddie Maguire.
Eddie Maguire,
yeah, pretty good.
Second.
So that was a pretty good moment. Yeah.
We want to be
nice.
Yeah, Eddie, just put it out there.
Got enough beers then, Cav? Well, they're mid-strength.
Yeah.
We've been talking up the Little Creatures Rogers for a long time because it's the best mid-strength that you will buy, and they still haven't given us any free beer.
What's with that?
Yeah.
Just circling back to footy, Josie, I want to know your idea, your view on this season and what it means to win the premiership this year.
Yeah, there's a big asterisk next to the premiership this year, I think. I mean, are we going to get there? I mean, Essendon player tested positive for COVID the other day, and that game was postponed. And then 2 days later, he tested negative. So go figure on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, which was really, really strange. I'm not sure where that's sitting now, but I don't think anyone knows what the hell is going on with the football season at the moment. But I am glad they brought in, what would you call it, canned applause into the games.
Yeah.
Remember? So in round one, they were playing with no fake claps, and it was just like
watching Seinfeld without any applause. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, it felt like watching a practice match or something like that. But now they've got this applause. It actually works. So I thought it was going to be ridiculous, but you get more into it.
Here's a question for you, Joel. So if West Australia stays as the only COVID-free state with the best stadium, would you think it would be okay if the two main teams came over here, quarantined for 2 weeks, and then played at Optus Stadium, or would that be against the rules of the MCG?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just a season with the Dockers and the Eagles now. And they play every week, including the grand final.
Dockers would finally get a Friday game. Yeah. That way.
All right, what do we got next?
All right, we've got quite a few backed up. All right, Diana Patrice Maitland. You all seem pretty sensible except for Cav. What's your funniest story from tours?
Can't really tell you the funniest stories, but we can tell you some funny stories.
Yeah,
Stu.
I had a stuffed cat thrown on stage once that was quite terrifying, and it had like a name written on it in black marker as well. And I just said to the crowd, "What's with this?" And apparently it was the family's cat from this guy's family, and it had died, and he just thought that it would be awesome to see his cat on stage with Eskimo Joe. So it sat on my stage, it sat on my amp, glaring at me the whole gig. It was hilarious. At the time, it was not cool.
Okay, what do we got here?
Tanya Carroll, are private gigs on the cards then?
Well, maybe, I guess so.
Maybe we could just go to the border of Melbourne and a state that doesn't have a closure, and you can play on the border and we'll be on the other side, Josie. So it's still
we got the Brains Trust together working on this.
We'll get the stage standing both.
You stand in South Australia, I'll stand in Victoria.
We'll have a big stage that spans the border, and you can just stand on that side of it.
Yeah, they never thought of that when they were trying to stop us.
Yes. Michael Erasmus. Thank you, Michael, for joining us. One thing I love about your music is that all 6 albums are so distinctive from one another. How did you guys manage that? Was it an intentional thing?
Yeah, I guess it was. I mean, we always try and kick against what we've done before. And that was the really interesting thing about this year, or the last year, is because we've just been re-releasing all of our back catalogue on vinyl and putting out all the demos and stuff like that. And each time you make a record, I mean, most people who are in bands will probably tell you the same thing. You don't go back and listen to the records again. You listen to it while you're making it. You're like, yes, this is amazing. And then you just move on to the next record and try and make that, evolve and be different from the last record. So this is probably the first time, I don't know about you guys, that I've really gone back and listened to the records properly since they came out. And it was awesome. It was great to kind of listen back. I remember listening to songs like Who Sold Her Out, off our first album that we hadn't played in years, but I was like, this sounds great, and there was less baggage, attached to it. Like I was less like, oh, we could have made this better. And I think the most interesting thing about that is, like, I spent the year, last year listening to all these Eskimo Joe records. And that's why I think that Say Something is probably the influences behind it is listening to Eskimo Joe, which is really bizarre.
That's great. So next time we get to be asked, what are your influences musically, we can literally say Eskimo Joe.
Eskimo Joe.
Yeah. That's great.
Okay, Cooper, once again, who is the woman in the Girl album cover?
Stock footage.
It is actually, but the girl actually looks like one of Joel's old girlfriends. It's true.
Yeah. Which one, Stu?
I'm not going to tell you. You know, but I'm not going to say her name. I'm not going to say her name.
It does look like my ex-girlfriend, Amanda.
Yeah,
that's the one.
I didn't know.
But for everyone out there.
That's all.
Yes,
it does.
It
does look like it. Amanda Dobson says, Cav, did you deliberately match your beer to your jacket?
Yes, I did, Amanda. And it's delicious.
It's delicious, Rogers.
Yes.
Stacey Taylor, big question. Have managed a photo with Stu and the elusive Joel, but not yet Cav, and how many gigs? Grammar. Any tips? What? Let's just move on. Cooper Gillett.
I know we've already done Cooper a few times. We love him. But next.
Aidan McClure. You may remember him from such Zoom movies as last week. Will you be changing your name?
It's definitely a good question, Aidan. It's something we've talked about a lot over the past little while. We first came up with the band name Eskimo Joe because I bought a T-shirt from an op shop, and we just liked that it was,
it said Eskimo Joe's on it.
Eskimo Joe's Diner in Stillwater, Oklahoma. We loved Eskimo Joe just because it was had this nice rhyming kind of name thing about it, and we thought it was cool at the time. Obviously, the meaning of names change, as social norms change and all the rest of it, and with the the Black Lives Matter stuff happening and a lot of brands reviewing their names over the last couple of while, we've kind of taken this quite seriously, and we've actually been looking into it, and just working out if it's an offensive name or not. And where we've ended up is we just don't want to cause any undue stress or offense to anyone. So I guess watch this space, but we're not against changing our name. If it offends someone, then that's something we definitely consider.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
Lydia and Kath, don't forget to potentially play the video in full for everyone.
Kath is our manager, and Lydia is our lovely assistant who works with Kath. So would you guys...
How do we do that?
Should we do it?
How do we do that?
Do you have it on your computer?
No.
Hang on. I'll answer another question. I'll ask another question while that's happening. I'll airdrop it to you. How about that? And then we can share the screen.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Let's do that. Okay. Amanda Dobson, are you guys going to come back to the Gold Coast when you can, or do I have to come back to WA when I can?
We will definitely make our way around Australia again, but we'll have to wait probably until, around about this time next year. So, stay tuned.
Okay.
All right.
And Ash Thompson, I really, really love the song on the radio at the start of Ruby Wednesday, the song that the clerk changes to. Will we ever hear Sweater or Ruby Wednesday live again?
We talked about this a little bit on our last live stream. Joel, did you have an answer for this? Sorry, you look like you're about to jump up and say something.
Oh, look, I think the short answer is yes. It's just when,
Yeah.
So right. You just have to make sure you're at every show we do to get that golden ticket. But I'd have to say that the answer is yes. What do you guys think?
Yeah, basically yes.
Do you think?
Agreed.
Oh, you guys are kind of blurring out a bit.
Oh no, it's because Stu was right up against the camera. He's trying to play the video clip / song, so all of you people in Facebook Live land can be the first people to hear it.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
cool.
A bit of a secret. We're just going to drop it on you without even telling you that we're going to do it.
We'll just be halfway through a sentence and then yeah. Let's answer another question.
We'll answer some more questions. But we're ready to go. But if you want to hear it, just let us know.
Yeah.
Where we got Sophie Freestone. Hey guys, I'm a huge fan of yours from England. Thank you, Sophie. When you're writing new music, do you start with the music or the lyrics? I can't wait to hear Say Something tomorrow.
It's the chicken or the egg conversation. Generally, for me personally, when an idea pops into my head, it's usually the melody and one line will pop into my head. I mean, Black Fingernails, Red Wine's probably a really good example. That first line came into my head, and I'd already had in my mind that it would be really cool to write something that was kind of a cross between Need You Tonight by INXS and Eurythmics' Sweet Dreams. So the line came into my head, a little like slightly, melodic moment. And then when I picked up the guitar, I kind of knew, what kind of song was going to come out. And, next thing you know, Black Fingernails was written.
Boom. Glenn Dinage. Hey guys, I remember having a few froths with you after a show at the Rivervale back in 2005. What was your favorite place in Perth to gig? I'll throw that to you, Joelsy. Favorite place in Perth to gig?
That's a good question. I mean, Mojo's was always really good fun in the early days. Like a small room where the crowd seemed really close and it always sounded good on stage, and it was like the energy in the room was always really great. You know, then all the way, I mean, the other end of the spectrum is probably Metropolis City, which is like playing a nightclub in the Death Star.
Playing on
and I mean, the Grosvenor front room back in the day, and that back room at the Grosvenor, which is, you know, no longer with us as a live venue, but all the all ages gigs we used to play there. Every weekend we seemed to be playing an all ages gig with like Red Jezebel or whoever we were playing with at that point, and that was a real high point, I think, like that excitement building, and we had a pretty good all ages following, and we kind of all felt that something cool was happening. So I think those are really fond memories of Perth gigs.
Agreed on all counts. Okay, Joshua Devine, welcome, Josh. Cav, you did In Excess cover song, which rocked. Will you do any more In Excess?
Yes, that was a really cool project, the In Excess covers album. We talk about doing that on stage at some point in time, because, you know, we often, if, you know, anyone's ever stumbled into one of our sound checks, you'll catch us jamming on an In Excess song because it's just fun and cool. So yeah, maybe. I don't know if we'll ever record it and release it as a song, but maybe that's something we would do as a live thing, I would say.
Shamrock McGurkenfarkle, welcome back.
Yes!
Can we get some stems to play around with? That's a great question, and a great, I love that idea. I think we should probably do that maybe with the new song, or with, maybe let's do a remix competition. What do you reckon?
We'll love a remix competition. Yeah.
It's not exactly the easiest song to remix, but that just makes it more of an interesting challenge.
Who's next?
Callum Fletcher. Welcome, Callum. How did the guitar solo come about in Foreign Land? The stop-start vibe, if that makes sense, is so cool and unusual.
Do you know that is the only guitar solo in the history of Eskimo Joe that I ever came up with? And I think I was trying, I'm a terrible guitarist, but I came up with the initial idea for it based on...
is this the...
Yeah. I think I like the idea of it sounding like George Harrison playing with Led Zeppelin. It was what I was hearing in my head. I don't know if that's where we ended up, but the chap certainly took the idea and made it into something that I could never do. So well done, chaps.
Thank you, Shamrock. Oh, thank you, Callum, I should say. Pauline Hunt, do you still use Jack London for clothes?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We love Jack London. They're great.
It's just a good, slim fitting cut. It's good. John Rowe, what music are you listening to currently, Jolsey?
The Dua Lipa album.
So
the new Dua Lipa record.
Oh yeah, that's cool. It's like full disco.
Yeah, and it's ridiculously well-written pop songs with incredible production, and it's just like a piece of pop art, I think. What are you guys listening to?
Today I've been listening to the new Phoebe Bridgers record, super duper mellow, but she's kind of got something magical about her, which I think is great. What else? The Perfume Genius album was pretty amazing, like just super dense. I mean, he's been around for a while apparently, but this is the first time he's popped up on my radar. And the list goes on. Stu?
I was listening to the new Bibio record today, which was okay. It's very guitar heavy and kind of cool. And yeah, today actually I was listening out to one of my go-tos, which is by I think a Norwegian duo called Nest, and it's very cinematic.
Pronounced.
Also the, fellow Frio musician Kev Parker, that new Tame Impala record.
Yeah.
A fair spin as well.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
Very proud of him being from Perth.
Yep. What's next?
What's next? Michael Shim, hey guys, what's your favorite song to play live? The last one we wrote, generally.
Foreign Land is a really, really fun song to play live. Every time that happens in the set, I think everyone loses themselves a little bit and just kind of gets into it.
From the sea, probably, yeah. Mainly because it's the last song, and you know that the gig's going to be.
Thank God this is over.
I'm joking. No, it's I think that song like boils down the essence of our band.
Yeah.
Better than any other song. Maybe Say Something does that as well, but yeah, from the Seas, like if I could pick one song to represent our band, I think it'd be that tune. Yeah. And the live thing at the end where the you know, we do that extension of the whole end bit and the drummer cuts sick, and it's just a cool moment where you don't know exactly what's going to happen every night, which is cool.
I did already say
something,
but you know, yeah.
I like every now and then we throw an old song back into the mix that we haven't played for a while, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But one we recently put back in the set was How Does It Feel? And I don't know, it's something it's a really great energy about that song. It's got a really good build, good dynamics, and the crowd seems to really love it too. So when the crowd's having fun, you're having fun. Damien Murphy, can you please say hi to my gorgeous girl, Mel Porter, please?
Hi, Mel Porter.
Hi, Mel Porter. Nothing from Joel.
Hi, Mel Porter.
It's all good. It's fine. Amanda Dobson, Joel, I really appreciate the stemless wine glasses. How many did you break before you converted?
Yeah, all of them.
They used to have.
This is my family's in WA at the moment, and this is all I've got left. The wheels have come off.
Bronny Murfinski, if you guys could collaborate a new album with any artist, who would you choose?
We had this question last time.
We did, but you know, let's throw a few more spanners. If it's going to be an album that we are making with someone.
An album.
Do you know what would be fantastic? Is that the chap who conducted us and arranged a few of the songs in the symphony orchestra record that we did, Ian Grandage. You know, teaming up with someone like that who their primary skill is arrangement and writing orchestras, and doing an orchestral album that you actually, you know, that's part of the writing process as opposed to an afterthought that happens after writing a song, I think would be quite an amazing process.
I think Danger Mouse would be fun.
Yeah, that too, yeah.
I reckon Metallica seem to say yes to everyone. So, like, put us in a room with them and see what happens, you know?
As long as there's cameras there to capture it all, that would be genius. That is the best musical comedy ever.
Yeah.
Some kind of Eskimo.
Emily Daniel, why is there a moon behind you, Kev?
Well, this moon here was made by my good friend Melanie, and we had it on stage. Well, I say stage because it was literally a stage when myself and my wife got married. And during the ISO lockdown, we couldn't do any gigs or anything. So I started to do this series of, because we're in my studio at the moment, we started to do I started to do a series of acoustic performances, and I called it Live from the Moon. And so we set up the moon, so it was like I was on the moon and broadcasting to everyone during ISO. And it's just kind of stayed here in the studio. I mean, I share the studio with a couple of other people, and no one's complained yet. So yeah.
I think it might be time to try and play this song. What do you reckon?
Well, I think it's something we should definitely. Should we do it at the very end of the broadcast?
No, because we want to get a bit of feedback.
Okay, fair enough. I guess so. Yeah. Well, yeah. All right.
I'm not sure if the audio is going to come through. That's the only issue. But we'll try.
That's quite a large issue.
It's a big issue. I'm not going to lie. Share computer sound. Yes. Here we go. All right. So now everyone can see Cav's screen.
Uh-oh.
It's just incriminating up there. Here we go. All right, you ready?
Should we make it full screen, Stu?
Yes. I don't know how to do that.
How do you do that?
All alone, I'm lit up by a telephone. The world is just a broken home. Are you listening? Hello. Born in signs, written
year.
So there you go, guys.
Thank you so much for all your comments. It's all positive, which is good.
Yep, love it. Smashed it, boys. Says Jan Ray.
All the way from Bustleton.
What else we got? Loved it. Lots of finger signs. Oh, that is good. Didn't realize you were Aussies. Well, we are Australian. This is true.
That's too many to mention.
Bloody awesome song.
Your vocals have gotten stronger. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's very kind.
Did you mean he was not strong before?
Yeah. What are you saying? You think I'm fat?
Too many years of marriage there. Okay, biggest musical inspiration, guys. Eskimo Joe, I reckon.
Well, for this song, it was Eskimo Joe. Yeah,
that's quite
that's
an honest answer.
That's very cool.
Awesome sauce, says Christian Johannesburg Perry. Thank you. Chantel Westlake, is there a song by another artist, living or dead, that you wish you had written?
Yes, many.
Lots, actually, yeah. It's true.
I think that the motivation for most songwriters is that they hear someone else's song and you know, past or you know, happening yesterday, and you're just like, oh, I wish I wrote that song.
Especially the closer it is to home. Do you know what I mean?
There's that. I mean, sometimes there's some artists that come out, and I always have this feeling it's like it was on the tip of my tongue, but someone else said it first. That's always the feeling that I get sometimes. But yeah, so many. Jesus.
Like when Tame Impala released Elephant, I was just like, that's a game changer right there.
And then let it happen.
Let it happen. Yeah.
Same feeling.
Epic.
So good. All right. So what do we got? We've got Paul Keenan saying, yes,
yes, Paul. Brendan Smith, sounds great, guys. Who was the producer on this tune?
Well, it's self-produced. So we just tracked it ourselves and produced it ourselves. And who was the chap who mixed it? Do you remember his name, Joel? I can't think of it.
Andrew Holes.
Yes.
HOLZ, yeah.
Yeah, so he did a great job and really brought, you know, our ideas together. But yeah.
And recorded in Joel's studio with an awesome engineer. He was really good. Joel Quartermain, if you've not heard of him, he's a bit of a gun. Yeah.
Well, we did a little bit post production in this studio as well. A few extra guitars and bits and pieces.
Linda Jones, hey guys, could you please give a hey cadence to my stepdaughter? Sorry. No.
Hi Cadence.
Hi Cadence. She came along to the tennis gig and loves you guys now. Hi Cadence. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be an asshole. It's just my default setting. Michaela Donges, do the wives and kids play music and sing too?
We love the idea of them doing that. Joel's wife's a pretty good singer. She can play and do all kinds of bits and pieces. And none of our children have decided that they want to take up the mantle yet, though Hunter, my son, keeps telling me he keeps getting a golden slip in music, which means like exemplary performance. So I'm pretty sure all they're doing is learning the recorder at the moment. So
yeah, my son, about as creative as he gets, is on the footy field, which is still great to watch. But he likes destroying more than he likes creating, I think.
My stepdaughter has an amazing voice, and unfortunately, fortunately, but unfortunately, Joel couldn't make it to my wedding because he was about to have a baby. Well, he wasn't, but his partner was about to have a baby, and we put together a music family band, and Cassia, my stepdaughter, sung Xanadu, and
what a moment.
She brought the house down. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So yes, there is some music in the family.
Yeah, I mean, my partner Sarah's a great songwriter, and she's like fully addicted to chord progressions, like writing beautiful chord progressions. So we spend a bit of time at home talking about chord progressions, which is fine by me.
Awesome.
Well, you're living your best life, Joel.
That's it. That's it.
Alrighty.
Let's do two more questions, guys, and we will answer them properly, and then we will get out of here. And
John Rowe, this is a good one. Please cover a Beatles track. Which would you pick to cover?
Oh man, where do you even start? Everyone gets to pick one. What would you do, Stu?
that's such a tough one. I mean, automatically I default to Day in the Life.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well.
Because it's got so many different stories within the story.
And that melody, in the verse is just so mysterious. I've listened to it so many times over the years, and it's still, I just hear it and I'm just like, blows my mind every time. So I would say Day in the Life as well. What about you, Joel?
I'd probably say Something, George Harrison's song. It's just an unbelievably beautiful song, like the perfect love ballad.
Yeah.
And we're all about love ballads, right? So
that's why we're writing a political album.
Actually, one of my favorite covers we ever did was a John Lennon song.
What was that?
Mind Games.
Oh yeah, that was cool. We recorded that for a
Save Darfur album.
Yeah, that was great.
And the best thing was that Yoko Ono actually selected it to be on the album.
Hell yeah,
which is cool. And that was just we happened to have some studio time up our sleeves in I think it was 301 Sydney, and so we just went in there in one day and smashed it out, and it just was a really productive day, and everything came together really well. Sounded great.
Super cool.
It was like the song was already written or something.
Yeah, I know, right? No, but you produce your own way.
No, I'm joking. Sorry, Stu. Just joking.
One last question, guys, and then we're going to say sayonara.
How about this one? Stu, if beards are like push-up bras for men, what size are you? Ooh. Well, I guess you're referring to the size of a chin when you're talking about a push-up bra, really?
I guess so, yeah.
So I'm a AA at best.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Straight from the horse's mouth. One more question, yeah.
Callum Fletcher, any advice for turning 30? I leave the 20s club tomorrow.
Well, welcome to adulthood, my friends. I feel like 30 is where you realize that you weren't an adult and you now actually are more of an adult. And an amazing thing happens up to about 28. You think you know everything, and then every year afterwards, you realize you know less and less.
I think the best thing about growing old is that you're
not old, man.
No, growing old.
All right, growing older.
Yeah. The best thing about aging,
yes,
I guess,
okay,
is the more you age, the more you start looking outwards into the world instead of focusing on your own stuff, and it makes you realize that all your stuff isn't quite as important as you thought it was, which is quite a freeing thing, really. And I think that's kind of come through in the new song, is that it's a lot less about internalization and looking out at the world. Do you know what I mean?
And that is the thing about life. No one gets out alive. And that's where we're going to leave you, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. We love the support you guys have given us over these 20 years, and we really hope you enjoyed the new song. And before you know it, hopefully we're out there playing it for you live. So have a listen. Comes out tomorrow. We were Eskimo Joe. This was our live stream. We'll see you next time.
Awkward pause.